Hi everyone, hope you're doing really well. I know it's been a while since I've done a video, but life has been very full on. Maybe it has for you too. But yeah, the title for this video. What should we call it? Men and women, and the cold, sometimes cold reality of dating and relating that we are currently moving through at this time on planet Earth. So what is the reality? And I have to say, I find this stuff really fascinating. You know, I've only started to really understand in the last year or two, like the situation that we are in when it comes to men and women, and connecting, and what in the Western world. I think this applies mostly to the Western world, right? So what women are looking for and what men are looking for, and the end result of all of this. So we've gone from a reality where men and women will meet, let's say 30 years ago, men and women would mostly meet, in social settings, out there in the world, or through people, like that's just like how it was, you're in a bar, or you're out shopping or whatever it is. There was a lot more outward engagement to meet and connect with people. And we now have almost the opposite end of the spectrum, where it's all done behind a screen. And, people, men and women, they think differently, obviously, in many ways. And one of them is their assessment and selection process of the opposite sex or the same sex or whatever, people are interested in. And I'm amazed. Like, I have to say, if you look at men's thought process, like for a guy that is, from like a 4 out of 10 and upwards, or it doesn't really matter at this point. It's like, whatever the attractiveness and worth, like the guy has, he will look at most, let's just talk men and women. Yeah. So females, and he'll just be like, yeah, anything that's above a 4, that I'm fine with that. It doesn't bother me too much. That's the male brain mostly, And then for women, it's completely different when they're behind a screen, especially because they've got less they can pick up on. Like when you're in front of somebody, it's totally different. You pick up a lot more on their energy. A woman, will tune into how this person feels, how they talk, how they smell, all these different cues. When they haven't got those, they become a lot more selective. So what you end up with is where, and I think this is the case, right? In the dating market, it doesn't really matter what app you're on. There are a few exceptions to it, where women will say, in their mind, they're already doing this, right? It's like, okay, I'm only interested in the top 15%, 20% of men. Anything else, I'm just swiping away. I'm not interested. And so that just completely torpedoes 80% of the men who are looking, so they either can't find anything, or they're just finding, it's just not worth it to them, what's available to them. So that just turns men off, right? So what you then end up with is the majority of the women that are a 4 and above, right, going for the top, let's say 20% of men. Now, what that means is women are getting to the point, or certainly have got to the point, where they're having to share. It's like they can't compete. The market is flooded with this vast section of females that are only interested in this 20% of males. So therefore, this 20% of males has got the freedom to do what they want. And it's like, I can pick and choose. I don't have to tie myself to one woman. Why would I? I've got so many options here. Like why would I not, just live the life I want, have the freedom to be with different people, and they'll have to share me, I just find I find it so fascinating. And the women get turned off by this as well, because they're like, okay, why is it so hard to find a man? I can't find a man that will commit to me, so then I will have to share. But I would still rather, this is the thinking, right? I would still rather share with other women if this guy is in this top 20%, top 15%, whatever, because he's still more of an asset and, something I want in my life than the other 80% of guys out there that I just not even going to consider, not interested in at all. You know, wow, what a time we're living in, you know, because I've gone through this, you know, I've gone through like my younger life, like I've been okay. I've had like, you know, reasonable success with it all, and I think certainly as I've got older and more established in myself and know what I want out of life, you know, people are more attracted to me and my energy anyway. You know, I feel a lot more magnetic than I was, but I think, you know, some of that comes with age anyway. There's also this thing about how men and women age. So women are in their peak attractiveness and desirability from the age of like 18 up to about 25, 26, right? For men, it's the total opposite, where they will only start stepping into that at some point in their 30s usually, or even in their 40s, you know, and they get into their peak desirability and attractiveness. So what you then have is the majority, not all, but the majority of the younger women who are only, you know, who are looking at the older, more mature, more established, refined men. That's what they want a lot of the time, because they don't want the younger guys that haven't discovered all of this, you know, in themselves and got to a good place in life and sorted a load of their shit out, you know. So for the men, like, you know, the younger guys, it's really fucking hard for them anyway. They're still figuring out who they are, you know, kind of, you know, bumping into things as they go along and figuring it all out. The majority of the younger women just aren't interested. It's like, you know, oh, this guy's like, you know, he doesn't know his arse from his elbow, as they say from where I'm from. So, you know, so that's, the women are like looking up and saying, well, that, yeah, I want some of that, you know. That tends to be the how the majority think and look towards the opposite sex. So for me, a guy in my 40s, this actually is, you know, it's great news. But when I was in my 20s, it certainly wasn't. And I think this was already going on back then anyway, but now it's really accelerated and it's become something, you know, it's such a phenomenon and it's global. Yes, there are exceptions. And those exceptions, actually, we can talk about where many guys now, you've heard of this, probably this men go their own way thing. Where, you know, guys who just can't get anywhere with this dating market are like, do you know what? I'm going to get my passport. I'm going to fuck off to somewhere else, the other side of the world, where I'm going to be seen and appreciated and valued by a culture, you know, that isn't so tied into this bullshit system that doesn't work, you know, in terms of me meeting people. And, you know, lo and behold, they find women that are more traditional. You know, I don't necessarily, you know, not getting into traditional stuff today, but like they find women that will just see and appreciate and value them a lot more. So, yeah, it's amazing, honestly, like what's happening. So I think they call them passport bros as well. So, and then for the women, like I think, across the board in you know, the majority of cases, women that are in the dating market, certainly, you know, once you go above 25, 26 are looking to find a nice guy, you know, like, and I don't need a nice guy, we've got to be careful with that one, let's use another phrase, find a guy that's right for them. You know, they're finding it hard, and a lot of it is to do with the way the system is geared and the way these apps are geared. So I think the women and the men, you know, if you're going to carry on dating in this Western world, in these systems, you got to step back and really think about what you want and what you value and what's available to you realistically, you know, instead of what you think you can get. Because once you understand all this other information about the percentages and availability of people, it can really change your mindset. But the result of this at the moment, and like, you know, maybe this is part of a higher plan, to what level I don't know, is, well, there's therefore less marriages, there's therefore less long-term connections, you know, and people wanting to be with people over, you know, let's say the rest of their life. That has been eroded massively. So, you know, it's fascinating to me. I think we're going to see less births, and we're going to see more people living more independently. So, you know, I'm just throwing it out there because it's a fascinating subject to me. There'll be more on this, you know, because I just really am so intrigued, honestly. But that was the video for today. I do have some offers going on for coaching and mentoring packs at the moment. So if you're interested, send me a message. But yeah, hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.